George Wesley. Really kind of funny. I saw your name and I first thought George Weasley, and then it was just kind of fun. But anyway, thought I'd let you know that. All right. I am ready to get started here. Let's see. Let's go ahead. Let's change some things over. ZBrush Live. How is everybody doing? A little bit slow getting started today, but we're doing well over here in sunshiny Los Angeles. All right. So, this is what we started last time. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the spotlight. People usually tell you that. Hopefully it doesn't bother you. If it does, I apologize and I take it back in an instance. Yeah, so this is kind of where we're at right now. There are a lot of things going on with this that I feel like I really need to get a better grasp on the character as a whole. And I want to go through and kind of expand her down to the waist a little bit, just to make sure that I understand a little bit better how the body fits in context. So I'm just gonna pull this down. We're just gonna instantly get started. Just really love ourselves here. So get something like this. I'm going to take what's here. I'm going to kind of raise this up. Take advantage of the fact that this is all nice and low res through here to just be able to not have to worry about too much topology. So that way I get the smooth shapes as I want. This morning for work, I've been using a lot of trim adaptive, so I'm trying to explore and figure out good uses for some of these other trim brushes. I love using the trim dynamic, so you see me use that one a lot. But yeah, I've been trying to use trim adaptive a little bit more. Carrie Drago, yeah, I'm back. And I will be here the rest of the month. Yeah, I typically, at least lately, have been streaming like Friday mornings. I may possibly be stopping, taking a little bit of a break starting next month, but we'll have to see kind of how things feel, how things go. Go ahead and I'll just kind of use clip curve a few times and get me some nice gentle swoop. Hey Alex, I'm doing pretty well. How you doing? ¿Cómo va el asunto en España? Yeah, I'm just going through and just trying to kind of play with pushing this sculpt a little bit further, as you do. Such a funny little phrase. I think my sister like super hates that phrase, like as you do. It's like, I don't know why. I mean, it's not a bad thing. It's just, not here. Let's actually take this up here a little bit more. Oh, so just so that everybody knows, I am the new Gryffindor chaser, and I'm about to lead the Gryffindors to the Quidditch World Cup this year, so I am super excited. I've been playing, what's that game called? Yeah, the titles don't the titles don't update right away. It's something that It's something that happens actually quite a lot. It's not a bad thing. It's just, and it's something that gets changed later on. Um, in fact, I think there's a way for me to be able to do it. I just don't know how to do it. Um, yeah, I don't know all the fancy commands. 'Cause I think Ashley knows how to do it. I wish Ashley were here. She'd teach me. She'd probably do it for me because she's that efficient. Um, but yeah. Hey, Derek, I'm you for now. You watch all these people are here. They're like, "Oh, Derek's sculpting," and then they show up and it's just Steven. Okay. I know you guys aren't that mean, but whatever. Yeah, that's I gotta keep that. I gotta keep that more streamlined right there. This this aspect of the sculpt. Well, first off, I mean it's all a 2D cheat. I mean we've got like this really cool lace going around the bust right here. That frill, and so that frill is going to really create a really neat kind of look for us. This needs to get a little bit thinner, so I'm gonna let's see. Let's actually use our pardon me, transpose line. You know what? That I like that a little bit better. Let's see. Purely because I mean I really want to be able to have that neckline feel like it's up here further, but I don't want to go through and actually I don't want to actually like pull this piece up. So maybe what we'll do, let's take this and say Control Shift D. And then we'll say, oh shoot, that's not what I wanted. Let's get select rectangle. We'll just select that. Control Shift X to grow it up once. And then we'll say geometry, modify topology, delete hidden. And then I need to take this and kind of move it down so that it merges with the body. Ahí estamos. Vale. Ahí está la cosa. Okay, I'm going to go ahead. Let's block in these arms because these arms are magnificent. Yeah. I'm actually curious. I am not entirely sure that like how much I'll actually get done with this before I feel like I have to move on to the next whatever. I'm pretty good like that. Just moving on. Take this one, just kind of taper it down. All right, hit accept. And then, you know what? Other thing we could do, let's use that bend curve. This is a great tool to be able to kind of reposition things. So I'm just going to take these and just kind of bend it off a little bit. Let's give myself one more resolution dot there. Okay, let's kind of bring that up a little bit. Except, okay, let me see. I should be able to. Oh, I don't think I have it loaded in right now. I have this mesh that I was going through and cleaning up last night. Where, let me see. He still has a long way to go. Oh, you know what? Maybe I'll grab from this. Maybe this will have. Yeah, this has the arms. That'll work. Okay, so let's grab that. We'll come back over to the torso. Oh, not geometry. Subtool. Say insert. We'll insert the goblin's body. And all we need are these beautiful little hands. So, what I'm going to do. Control-Shift-X a couple of times. We'll say geometry, delete hidden. There we go. You can tell that her ears come in handy. Alright, let's go ahead and size those up and put them where they ought to be. Place these down here. Just kind of playing with these sleeves now. Just a little bit. We don't have a lot that we need to do with them yet. I mean, they're still just blocked in, so it's not really a big deal yet. But just want to try to get a little bit more of the actual shape that we want to see out of them. Okay. And let's go ahead and we'll kind of block out. Control-Shift-X, it's to grow what's visible. So if I were to go through here and select, you know, just a teeny little portion of this, Control-Shift-X is going to make your what's visible grow a little bit, just in one-step increments. Control-Shift-S will shrink that. So it's a really nice, helpful little little tool. You can come over here, Control-Shift-X, and you can kind of just literally grow your mesh, and it's really funny. Kind of fun to watch. Yeah, let me see. Yeah, it's a fantastic tool. I really like it. Let's go ahead and kind of pull this up. Oops. And here's what I want to do. I want to say let's expand it out this way, just like this. Yeah, so X for expand, just like Alex is saying. X for expand and S for shrink. Yeah. And then Control-Shift is to be able to like click and drag to be able to use your selection tool. So if you think about it like that, you're growing your selection, you're shrinking your selection. Control-Shift-X to be able to grow, Control-Shift-S to shrink. So yeah, it's all very related, and I think that one of the things that I really like about ZBrush is how logical things are. Oops. Ay, qué horror. Yeah, it's a really nice thing, you know, in my mind. You know what? Let's see. Let's come up here. I am going to take the body, kind of rotate it like that. Then I'm going to have to take these arms and adjust them. And I'll probably figure out what to do with the skirt part before too long. So I'm seeing a lot of new names today, people that I haven't seen on stream before. If you're new, watching me on stream, I'm Steven Anderson. I go by the Smartist. You can see my username just right down there, on the interweb, on social media and things like that. You can find me on Instagram, on anywhere, smartest.com, things like that. Um, I teach at Noman in Hollywood. I teach how to create stylized characters for animation and for games. Um, and I also work at Netflix. So, I work at Netflix Animation as a designer. Have a ton of fun. It's a really good job. Um, but yeah, so that's a little bit about me. I've worked in the past at DreamWorks and Disney and all sorts of really cool places. I'm just gonna kind of go through and have that blocked in. I'm not 100% sure on how this lower body is going, but we'll make do with it for now. Because I think I'm having like too much of a butt. I think that's too much. I think with this particular dress, I think it's more just like a sideways thing. Um, Thanks, George. Yeah, I have fun. I do a lot of different things, and I really enjoy what I do. Um, I'm very fortunate to know the people that I know, and to to have had the opportunities that I've had. Um, let's see. It's going to be kind of a tricky thing to kind of work out. I mean, this is all still super rough, super blocked in, and I really kind of want to get this hair figured out, because this hair has this very interesting flow to it, where it's like it's going up and over, okay, this sort of thing. But then it also has like these very, let me kind of define it this way, this very sharp shape, planar transition right here. Yeah, sometimes these shapes are really kind of tricky to figure out, but it's super worthwhile going through and kind of digging at it some. Okay, so I'm gonna say there's kind of like that planar transition for that piece. This piece needs to kind of have a little bit more of a turn to it, I think. And it feels like that corner doesn't get quite as sharp. Let's give it a little bit more of that turn. Kind of pull it out some more maybe, because that'll soften that corner. We also need to kind of play with this shape right here. So what I'm going to do, let's grab this. I'm just going to kind of polish this down and give myself a little bit of a plane change up here on the top too. That should give me a little bit more of that corner right there. So if I play with that, play with like the placement and things like that, I should be able to get something that I like out of it. When you're working on a concept, specifically something that's super stylized like this, you want to be kind of paying attention and really asking yourself certain questions about what it is that you're seeing, about what it is that could be making certain shapes happen. And this is super tricky, because it's the drawing is all about the look that Mikkel wanted to get. Um, but then it's you know, so there's not as much consideration for the actual hair and the actual like the actual flow of it. It's just really trying to get that shape and that, you know, the gesture of it, you know. So it's really tricky to try to match this. I'm gonna go ahead and take this. Let's kind of take this and pull this up. That's not quite enough, and that's not really quite the edge look. This is really kind of just going through and sketching it out in a way, you know. So I'm just trying to go through and say, something like this. Boom. Let's kind of go. We'll take this. In fact, I'm going to turn on lazy mouse because this is just it's a little bit too tight to my actual movements for me to actually enjoy the shapes that it's making. Do something kind of like that. Yeah, and then we'll go ahead and just try to build this out just a little bit. Oh, my work computer just went to sleep. I saw a flash and I was like, what's going on? Okay, so we're going to play with this just a little bit and see kind of where it is that where it is that we can take it, where it is we can go with it. Good question. Okay. When do you decide to use a pose instead of a T pose? So T pose is really useful for people to be able to do rigging. A pose is really good for people to be able to do things like cloth simulation. Um, yeah, that's kind of the difference. I don't know that it particularly matters for me. I like a pose because it allows me to think of the character in the most neutral pose as I can. This is going to like blow in front of my screen if I'm not careful. I don't want that. Just gonna tie it up a little bit. Yeah, so that's kind of the difference for A pose and T pose. I choose A pose because it's more neutral. It allows me to you know, really figure out the clothing, figure out the you know, the essence of the character. Yeah, it's a really nice way to work, and it's pretty standard too. Most people, most industry places will ask for a pose, so it's just pretty standard. Okay, those hands are still super basic. Okay, but we don't need them to be anything else yet. I hate that. I hate that. No ranting. No rant. I'm not gonna rant. Okay, so we've got a little bit of that hair kind of starting to come together. Okay. it's always a matter of thinking about where it's coming from and where it's going to. So I'm thinking, you know, like we've got the hair from the forehead kind of coming out and up and over. We've got yeah, I'm thinking that this is probably still kind of like just hair from the forehead kind of coming up and out and over. Let's kind of go ahead and put that little separation right in there. Hi Bilal, how are you doing? Let me see. Let me see. I'm trying to figure out. Okay, let me see. Thanks, Peter. What would be your preferred or ideal workflow to convert a sketchy hard surface model to a clean refined model? Um, just read topology. I'd probably just go ahead and use. Um, and actually, I have a course about that, like just a little tutorial course. Let me see if I can pull that up for you. Art station. Art to the station. Let's go to the profile. Come down to the store. Okay, yeah, right over here. Oh, looks like they got a sale going on right now too. That's pretty cool. Yeah, so this goes through lots of different little techniques that I use to be able to create hard surface models, and a lot of times, well, so like I'll show in this series I show I think 2 or 3 different ways of being able to create meshes for that are refined topology for a model that can be taken into production. Um, yeah, I use like Dynamesh, going through and slicing it, and then using ZRemesher, and I use yeah, all sorts of stuff. It's really really cool. It's a really good little series, and it's a fun little bit. Uh, but yeah, I mean, it's a good little thing to dig into if you wanted to check that out. Um, but yeah, I think I've used some of that a little bit before on the stream as well, but I can't remember for sure. I definitely need to work on this lightness a little bit. Okay, let me see. I'm going to say let's kind of paint in the eyes, even just a little bit, just to be able to make sure that we understand more or less what's going on. I'm going to say opacity. Pull this up, and in fact, let's pull it over here. Let's really expand this, make this bigger so that I can see it a little bit better and get the colors. So when we have spotlight active, we can come in here and we can color pick from the image. So I'm just going to come over here and pick the. In fact, let's do this first. Let's go ahead and do the actual eye color first, like the base color. Let's grab skin shade 4. Actually, I don't want it to be super red. I kind of want it to be a little bit. You know what? It was over here. Let's just leave it where it is. MRGB color fill object. Actually, we don't want an MRGB on this brush, so let's go over here to standard brush. Let's turn this on. Now we can go see. Let's go ahead and pick that color from that eye. Turn off the spotlight. And I want to try to figure out more or less what's happening here. She looks super droopy tired. But you know, it's kind of part of figuring it out is you just kind of gotta start putting things in. If it works, then great. If it doesn't work, then yeah, back to the drawing board. So for retopology, I use mostly ZBrush. It's been the most efficient use of my time. You know what? We better leave these as spheres for now. Okay. Let's go ahead and say, what do I need? What do I need? What do I need? Z. And it's like, what am I trying to do here? I'm trying to come over here and pick a color. Okay, so I wanted to actually pick the color from the object, from the reference, because he's not using a true black. He's using, like right here, you're seeing a very desaturated dark purple. So that's something that's kind of helpful to me. I want to come over here and let's say masking, mask by color, or mask by intensity could work. Mask by color, we're going to say mask by Polypaint. And we're just going to click and drag over to the color of the eye here. Soften it a few times, harden it, soften it, harden it. And we got to just do that a few times until we have about the size that we want. And boom. Okay, got a little bit too crunchy kind of around the corners, but it should be all right for now, I think. You know what? Let's come over here. Let's grab move topological. And we're just going to kind of play with these eyelids a little bit. Try to get that shape a little bit more. He's got like this really cool like lift on the inner bit of the eyelid. But then he's got like this, yeah, let me see. Let's come over here to curve, AccuCurve. Just kind of pull this up a little bit, adjust the shape over here a little bit. You know what? Let's go over to the eyes. And let's say with these eyes, let's say transform. We're going to say, instead of mirror symmetry, I'm just going to turn off that mirror part. Let's go ahead and center this. And then we can go ahead and we can turn the eyes. So now we're getting something like that. Okay. Now, by putting the character, by starting to put the character more in pose and starting to kind of work on some of these little bits here, I'm able to get a little bit better of an understanding of where I'm going wrong. Okay, there are a lot of things happening with this particular design that I feel like I haven't been able to quite capture yet, which is fine. I mean, it's still early on in the process, but it should be helpful to me being able to go in and make some of these things happen if I pay attention to some of these different shapes and whatnot. So let's go ahead, let's say mRGB, we'll say color fill object. Oh. I bet I know what happened. I was like, it sounds. My wife and kids had gone to the grocery store, and I was kind of surprised just now to hear the garage starting to open, and it occurred to me she might have left the Sam's Club card. That's my guess, anyway. This is not feeling appealing to me. Let me see. What is it that we're seeing here? Let's pull the nose down a little bit. It's like I'm trying to figure out like a balance between the super teeny tiny nose shape and what I feel like looks appealing in 3D. Because that's one of the things that's super difficult to work out sometimes is balancing the concept with reality. um, it's like I'm currently working with some really interesting, some very crazy concepts for the shows that I'm working on for Netflix, and it's insanely difficult sometimes to go through and translate something that's so loose and sketchy into something that's, you know, refined and not sketchy. um, let's go ahead and kind of pull that in a little bit. You know what? I have the AccuCurve on still. um, and especially to worry about something like something that's this shapely, you know, something that's very shape driven. In fact, something I'm noticing is that like the cranium seems to like curve out a little bit right there, so that gives me the impression that it kind of has a little bit more of a plane change here, and then it kind of zooms out again. Sounds like they are actually back. To close the door. Let me see. I'm a little bit behind on chat. Let's see. What software to use for retopology? As ZBrush is not efficient. Actually, it's really quite efficient. The thing that gets really tricky with retopology inside of Maya is that lately, with the most recent versions of ZBrush, there's been this really irritating vertex welding function, which is both useful and extremely difficult to work with, because it goes through and it randomly stitches your points together. It doesn't target the points you're actually working on, and so it's insanely just aggravating. It's so terrible. However, between ZBrush to be able to do my main flows and then Maya to be able to do my detail topology, I'm able to get all sorts of crazy cool topology done. Like I had this pulled open earlier. I was able to do all my main form topology for this character here inside of ZBrush. Okay, and you can see like I was able to get a whole bunch of really nice detail flow and things like that. But then up here for these antlers, these antlers are detailed such to the fact that I can't just I can't just do something like this inside of ZBrush and have it stay nice and quads, stay exactly the way that I want it to be. So yeah, I went into Maya, used quad draw, and turned out really nicely. It holds my shapes. It gave me the opportunity to have all the flow that I needed. And you can see it, obviously there was at some point it looks like it went through and it totally ruined my fingernails, but it's okay. I'll have to worry about that a different time. But yeah, so yeah, that's what I do. I use a lot of Maya. It's really helpful. And in fact, if you want to know like more about my full topology workflow, I have another course, which is really cool. It's this one right here, which is also on sale. It looks like, which is cool. Full course for $320, or little secret if you wanted to know. I'm actually selling it as well on Flipped Normals. What's cool is that Flipped Normals invited me to be what's it called? like they're very particular about the about cultivating the what's it called, um, the content on their site. So yeah, I've got this. It's the full process. It goes through everything from sculpting like what I'm doing right now to getting the main forms, and then topology workflows using ZBrush and Maya, UVs, all sorts of things. The whole bit. I even go into like different facial expressions and things like that, and preparing things for 3D print. So yeah, it's this is full length. This is the exact similar sort of thing as I teach at Noman. So instead of paying $1,300 to take this course, you're paying less than $300. So you know, but if you wait until after May, it's going to be back up to $400. So that's kind of a I'll go ahead and I'll copy this just in case anybody's interested in it. But yeah. So yeah, those are the things that I have. Those are some of the some nice little resources for you. Let me see. Let me see. Take this and kind of push this back area up a little bit. Did I already change my shortcut? I did. Okay, cool. Yeah, Control 1. Because in Maya, Control 1 is to be able to like isolate selected, so it just makes it really easy to kind of remember that. Do I use any custom brushes? I do a ton of custom brushes. In fact, I make a whole bunch too. So I have like my own custom hair brushes, which I also sell online if you're interested in those. Or I also have them as part of my Patreon. So that's I like to try to share brushes that I make with members of my Patreon crowd. It's starting to look a lot better. Let's go ahead and come over here. Let's grab that color. I'm just gonna like real quick and dirty kind of brush this in, and then I'll go back in with white to kind of clean it up, clean up those edges a little bit more. See, now this is always such a fun project, going through and doing these draw this in your style challenges, because you get to learn from somebody else's design, and you get to see kind of like the things the choices that they made artistically, and you're really asking yourself, okay, so how do I take what they did and turn it into my thing? And right now, I mean, I'm trying to go through and be more faithful to the design than I would typically for a draw this in your style piece. But just for the exercise, being able to take something super different and turn it into something three-dimensional. Mikhail's a good buddy of mine. We've been buddies on Instagram for a while now. Really nice guy. Okay, let's go in. Let's kind of add a little bit more here. turn that intensity up some. It's not quite as heavy as I'd like, so let's go ahead and use that and fill this in some. You know what? I didn't even think about that. Let's do this actually. Let's go ahead. We'll take RGB. We'll say color fill object. Let's get the rosy cheeks in there first, because that feels like it's much more basic, and the design of the sugar skull feels like it's going in over top of that. Let's kind of take this. There's always a bunch of back and forth when you're working with these things. So you never want to be too attached to the first way that you do it, you know? Just going to take this ear bit and just kind of manipulate it into place a little bit better. Just gonna try to move things around just a little bit. Try to make it fit the hairline a little bit better. Okay, let's see if we can fix the relationship between this mouth, fix the shape some too, because this is not working for me. It needs to be rounder here on the bottom, needs to be more peaked here at the top. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and kind of push this around a little bit here. Oops, RGB, turn it to Z add. Oops. Okay. Starting to get somewhere. This is feeling a little bit too sharp down here, so I'm just going to kind of smooth it out just a little bit. All right, starting to go somewhere. Yeah, I use a ton of different custom brushes though. Now you can help your wife with her makeup. Yeah. I wouldn't go that far. Have you seen those videos where it's like the guy is going through and trying to help his wife with her makeup or whatever? It's super super funny. Let me see. Do you always paint in ZBrush, or do you also use Substance Painter? I use Substance Painter if I'm doing projects off stream or off camera or off recording, because my computer doesn't seem to like to work efficiently when I am using Substance Painter and streaming or recording or anything like that. So it's really kind of a tricky thing because it's super graphics card and intensive. So it's like I can't use that and Maya efficiently at the same time. I can't use that and the streaming actually uses. I'm pretty sure the streaming uses the graphics card, the video card, um, to be able to capture the screen and be able to put it out there. Um, I mean, I could be wrong, but I mean that's my theory since it doesn't since the since everything slows down when I try to do it. So let me see. Just gonna go through here and try to get some of these tones in here. Just so she's not pure paste. In fact, let's go in here. We're going to take this. Let's color this area with it. And then we'll come over here. We'll grab that rosiness again, pull it back in. So now this spot is really interesting. I feel like what's happening with my sculpt is not the same thing that I see happening with the concept, and from the standpoint that I feel like there's more of this I'm going to draw it in with the Damien standard. There's more like this bridge between the corners of the eyes that I'm not quite getting with my sculpt yet. And so what I need to do is I'm just going to use different trim brushes to kind of really make this planar transition happen a little bit better, make it a little bit more evident, more clear, more controlled. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay, smooth it a little bit. That's not what I wanted. Oh, that's creepy. Just a little bit though. I've seen worse. It's really funny in the course. Well, I mean, every once in a while when you're working on characters, you're going to run into things like that where it's like you hide things and things just start to look a little bit different. And so it's really funny to kind of get that sort of thing going with I don't know. I don't even know how to express what it is I'm trying to say. Every once in a while, so like if you were to hide the head, but you have everything else visible, you have like the teeth and you have the eyes still visible, it looks really, really, really crazy. Goes to Christmas future. That hair is getting the best of you, right? Nah, it's just one of those things that I'll kind of bounce back and forth between doing that and what I like to do is I like to push things all together so that it's not all like progressing disproportionately. the reason I like to do that, let's go ahead and do something like this, is that it allows me to make sure that I see the character as a whole and see how the character is working as a whole. That context is super, super important. Let's do something like this for the neck. Let's turn off perspective. I hate it when I do that. Sometimes if you hit the tab key, it'll go, well, not sometimes if you hit the tab key. If you hit the tab key sometimes and it hides your UI, it's kind of a narrowed down kind of professional view. If you're like all into keyboard shortcuts and you have all the pop-up menus and things like that, not a really big deal. I mean, I don't know that I super need everything over here. The things that I use the most are like the colors, and I use the materials, and then I'll modify my brushes using the things like that. But you can get to all of that in here anyway, so it's not really a huge deal. I can turn that off, and I still have access to all my things. And especially now that I've gone through and I've put solo, kind of connecting that with a hotkey. It's super helpful. Let me see. Some streamers stay in ZBrush during the official Pixologic stream. SMAARTIST has a course available if you want to see more of his process outside of ZBrush. Yeah. Well, Chris, I mean, if you want to participate in the course, you could. But either way, no pressure. But yes, it's very focused on. Sounds like my son sneezing. It's kind of funny. The course is very focused on that full pipeline. It's on, and it's not everybody's pipeline. This is my pipeline. But it's super helpful to me. So if you want to, if you want to be able to use some of the process that I've developed and used while working for companies like Disney and DreamWorks and Netflix and Warner Brothers Games and all these other places, I'd recommend it. Let's see. Those lips, the bottom lip is getting too wide. Still needs to stay round on the bottom, but I need to make sure that it's making that right, that proper shape in there. Okay, let me see. Let's go over here. Let's use, I have this curve simple brush that I made. It's really just, it's like the curve strap snap brush, except that it doesn't have the X out on the end. It's so much more helpful because it's got the clean topology, and I love clean topology. So yeah, anyway, I'm going to go ahead and say split unmasked. Let's go down here. Let's rename this eyebrows. Okay. Obviously, there are some shape things that we need to work with on this, but it's not too difficult. Here, let's do it like this. We'll say insert an edge loop about right there. Looks good. And then we will say collapse poly loop and just boom, like that. Yeah. Now this needs to get a lot thinner, so we're just going to work on kind of pulling this together. We have a couple of things that we can do. If we wanted to keep, doing it like this, we could, or we can work the smart way. Let's go ahead and let's say Control W. Let's grab these polygons on the top. We'll say extrude polygroup island, and then we'll say, just hold shift and then just push, and that helps you to just thin it out quite a bit more better. Hey Space Cookie, how you doing? Let me see. It's always nice when people are chiming in on the chat because it helps me to to know that my internet's not failed and I'm not just talking to the wall. Yeah, let's use this this move infinite depth. That way I can get the front points and the back points more easily. Super nice. You know what? Let's try it with this one. Come over here, let's color pick these eyebrows. We'll go color fill object. So that way we at least have those eyebrows in there. Okay, and then there's a lot that we can do to kind of go through and refine this shape wise and everything, but for right now, I'm going to let that be as I keep tweaking it. Oh, here, let's go ahead. We'll say stroke, delete curve. Okay. Let's go ahead. Let's add in like the eyelashes too, because that'll be helpful in just visualizing this. So I'm not going to use my curve simple for this one. I'm actually going to use the curve tubes. Yeah, let's use curve tubes. And then I do a few things to my curve tubes brush to be able to make it work the way that I want. All of us gnomes are here. My entire village watches this stream before we go back to fighting the Smurfs. Good deal. Okay, so first thing I do is that with my curve step, I set that to 1. And then brush modifiers. I need to make sure that this brush modifiers is set to 8. Okay. I'm also going to come over here actually. Since I'm thinking about it, let's come over to the brush modifiers. We'll turn on size, and then we'll take the profile and make it something like this. Okay, so that way when I drag this out, oops. Here, let's turn on snap. Stroke, curve, snap. Okay, let's try this again. And of course it doesn't want to snap. Oh snap. It's okay. We can get this to lock start. And we'll say lock end too. Why not? Why not? Oh, and it didn't want to lock the end. Ah, bummer. I wonder why that is. Did it really not work? Yeah, I mean, it says lock. I don't know why that's not working then. Oh well, not a big deal. We will deal. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to make sure that my profile feels about right. Right now it's like I'm getting this really super thick bit right here, but it doesn't feel like it needs to get that thick. So a lot of that can come through with the hey Tony, how you doing? Um, a lot of that can come through with the brush size, but also what I want to do is I want to take this and make this so that it doesn't get perfectly thin. You know, I don't want it to go to the absolute thinnest. So let's try playing with that, and you can see like it's being a royal pain in the butt. Okay. At a certain point, you just go through and you get it as close as you can. Maybe tweak. Oh, you know what? I want to actually take this and let's move it toward the end just a little bit so that it's a little bit less centered. That feels so much better. So now that that's like that, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to commit it. And now let's go ahead and start to move it around so that it fits the shape of the thing. The thing with the thing and the thing. Okay. Now there are a lot of divisions along here, so that makes it a little bit difficult to work with. So you can go through and adjust those things as you're drawing those sorts of things out. But it should be fine. It should be just fine. Just going to tweak this. I want to get it so that it doesn't feel awkward. It needs to feel nice and clean. It needs to feel, you know, like it's doing what it's supposed to be doing, right? Let's go ahead and grab snake hook brush. I'm just gonna make it nice and small. There we go. Just kind of smooth that just a little bit through here. Just to get me a nice sharp shape. That's all I'm looking for with that. And then right here, yeah, let's go ahead and change to the select lasso. This is a really cool tool, guys. So select lasso, if I hold Control Shift and I tap on these edges like that, it'll hide that whole loop. So we're gonna do that. Stylized eyebrows give you issues. Sorry, dude. Yeah, stylized eyebrows. What my mentor taught me is that stylized eyebrows ought to be extremely simple. Yeah, he goes through, and I mean literally the way that my mentor does it, Zach Petrock. He goes through and he just draws it on with the topology brush. It's that simple, and then he's able to go ahead and control the spans, and he's able to control all that. And I do that most often. This time I went ahead and I used the curve the curve brush, just because it was a little bit simpler for me at this time, since I'm just kind of rushing through this one instead of. Oh, I forgot to separate that. Separate! Split hidden. Okay. Rename eyelashes. Put that below eyebrows because they come below the eyebrows in the hierarchy of the face. Okay, so that's good. Just going to kind of even out the thickness of that eyelash there. And in fact, I do feel like it should be getting a little bit thicker. So I'm just going to kind of play with that just a little bit. But then this end, let's make this get like really, really tight. Okay, something like that. I'm still trying to decide like what I like and don't like about the face. There's a lot going on that I feel like really needs a lot of experimentation to really make it feel right. That feels a little bit better. And it's like I think that the character itself, she's feeling pretty good, but she's still not quite feeling like the character. And I want to get a little bit more. Hey Gavin, how you doing? Hola chicks. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean it's really kind of tricky figuring out exactly what you want to do, how you want to see this happen. And as a sculptor or as a modeler, there are a lot of choices to make, but that's okay. Oh, autosave always comes in to save the day, but always as I'm like mid-stroke. And I'm just like, wait your turn. Speaking of saving, I probably ought to save. Let's see, Control S. I've had a lot of like collarbone pain, like up through here, the last few days. I don't know if it's how I slept, or what it is, but it drives me nuts. I have no idea what I did, and it's just insane. The lip should be a bit more narrow. Yeah, I mean, I'm still kind of working on since this is a draw this in your style. I mean, this is something that I get to kind of make some choices on. But yeah, I mean, it should feel a little bit better once I have like the for instance, let's go in here and let's pick our lip color here. The hard thing about adding color early though is that it can often kind of misguide or misinform us as to how good something is actually looking. And so we got to be really careful when we add color, that we're still careful to watch the forms. There are a lot of like tatuajes and everything, that tattoos going into her face that we'll work on at some point. Let's go ahead and add another subdivision to that. We'll hit polish just to make sure that that's a little bit smoother. Should be a little bit more uniform with the rest of the body now. Let's just check this neck. Okay. She looks kind of cool in the red. It's like a 40s. I guess not really like a 40s. Yeah, like a 40s Jessica Rabbit. Like like she's got her hair up. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of interesting. I'm going to say geometry, crease. Let's say crease so that it gets those edges there. But you know what? I don't know if that'll even help. Let's do this instead. I'm going to say insert single edge loop. We'll add one in there. Oops. Add one in there, and then we'll add, you know, a couple in here for good measure, just to be able to kind of support that corner a little bit better. And then, you know what? Let's do this instead. Instead of just doing single edge loops, let's do multiple edge loops. Keep polygroup. Let's go ahead and kind of add those in there. And then we can say deformation, we can say polish by features. You can see that's kind of smoothing that out a little bit. I don't like how it's smoothing out the bottom, but that's okay. We can still hide this within the collar of the neck. Yeah, the form with this one is kind of tricky. Your Spanish sounds really good. Thank you. How would you do the tattoos? No, actually, so I'm actually not going to be doing like the full process on this character. This character is meant to be just kind of a quick exercise. So I mean, total so far, I have spent maybe, gosh, 3 hours on her. So I mean, it's not been a huge amount of time. And so the idea is to get kind of just like a speed sculpt that looks like the concept with my own flavor to it. Let's see, community, ZBrush Live. I'm trying to check real quick and see what the schedule is like, because sometimes Paul likes to stream on Friday mornings, and so he'll sometimes kind of chime in. Okay, so that way I don't have to feel like super pressured to stop. So yeah, it looks like the next stream after mine will be at 7 o'clock this evening Pacific time. So yeah, I've got time. But yeah, so any and all textures for this character are going to be done using just Polypaint. And it's just going to be just as simple as kind of like what we've been doing so far. Nothing complex. Let's go ahead and grab our color here. Really, it's just kind of a matter of coming in and just painting it up. And you know what? I think instead of doing it like that, let's, you know what? I do need to actually go ahead and say Control D, maybe twice, polish it out so that the neck feels more uniform with the head. Okay, that feels better. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to use masking to kind of define these areas. I think that that's going to work better for us. I'm going to turn on stroke, lazy mouse, turn on lazy mouse, turn it up to like something around 50. Okay, and then we're just going to turn off everything else. I love May in Los Angeles. It is easily one of my favorite times of the year here because it's breezy, it's not too hot, it's nice. One of the nice things about the pandemic too is that it's, you know, mornings are pretty quiet, you know, so it's been nice and slow. People don't rush to get into work in the morning, so it's like, you know, the streets are nice and quiet, and that's amazing. Let's go ahead and kind of get all of that. So yeah, there's our mask for the eyes right there. And we can go ahead and we can kind of clean it up a little bit. I feel like it needs to come up a little bit further over here. Let me see. How do we want to do this? Something like that. Okay. Something like that. (41°C. Holy crap. Holy crap. I mean, what are we at right now? Yeah, 41 Celsius is hot. Only 41°C. Let me see. So right now it's 63 degrees Fahrenheit, 17 degrees Celsius. So it's pretty nice here right now. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Let's go ahead. I'm going to take... Yeah, let's kind of brush that in, I guess. Oh, look at that. Something wrong with that mask right there. So let's go ahead and take this. I'm just going to polygroup that so that it feels, or so that it's easily selectable. Okay, so there's kind of the start of that. And that's really kind of just blocking it in. But now I have, a polygroup that I can select, to be able to quickly, let's kind of soften that out. And then we can kind of harden it up a little bit too. Give her a little bit more, kind of fading away from that corner of the eye over there. Okay, that hair, let's make the hair kind of be a color. It's gonna be a little bit, let's go ahead and hit C or Z, and then color pick from the thing over there. Let's say color, MRGB, color, fill object. Just to be able to have that so it's not always changing colors on me. Let's grab the color from the dress right here. We'll say MRGB, color, fill object. Just so that we're getting these colors kind of blocked in. Yeah, the black hair was kind of cool. Did you see it when it was red? That was kind of cool too. That was a really pretty interesting color. The eyebrows. Let's go back to the eyebrows and kind of work on these a little bit because this isn't working quite yet. Oops. Oops. How far down is that supposed to go? Not too far, so it should be all right about right there maybe. I'm liking that a little bit. I mean, I think what I might do, let's actually move this over just a smidge, and I've got this idea here. I'll do things like this sometimes where it's like I'll go in and I will use a curve brush. Let's go ahead and center it. Oh, let's turn on local symmetry too. I'll center it and then I'll just kind of add in this extra little piece here on the end of an eyebrow. It can be really, really helpful just to kind of break up the shape a little bit. There we go. Helps it to feel a little bit more designed, a little bit more intentional. Okay, let's add kind of that bottom eyelash. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold Control, click and drag on that gizmo just to be able to get that to go. Speaking of India, how are things going for you guys there? Scary Poppins, I love it. How are things going for you guys there? I know that, I mean, I've been hearing in the news that things are really quite terrible over there. And last time I asked a friend who has family there, she said that things are going just fine, and you know everybody's doing well and whatnot. And I mean I don't know how much to believe her. How are things going for you guys? Because I mean in the news here, I mean they paint it up to be, you know, an extreme amount of crisis over in India, and you know, it's just such a hard. Wow. Yeah, see, that's hard to hear. That is so hard to hear. And it's like it's one of those things. It's one of those things. It's like wow. And that's hard because like the river is such a central point of life, and you know people, you know, need it to be able to wash and to be able to I don't know, do all sorts of things, right? Swim, you know, everything, you know, food, water for food and cooking, and wow, that's hard. And it's like, I mean, things weren't easy here, but never to that extent. Like things were never that bad here. Um, Los Angeles did get pretty scary though, and how like we were terrified to go outside because we didn't want to catch the virus. But I mean, at the same time, it's like we didn't have. Yeah, we had to. I mean, we had to be able to get food and things like that, and it's I don't know. It's such a hard situation, and I mean, I remember when I heard about how things were going down in, gosh, was it Quito? I can't remember. It was somewhere. It was somewhere. No, it was in Ecuador somewhere. Yeah, I think it was in Quito. I think it was in Quito, Ecuador. Um, and things were just horrific. Things were so bad. But I think even oops. Pardon me. Even they, I don't think, had nearly what you guys have had, and that's hard. I mean, they had people dying in the streets and all of that, and that's heavy. That is so hard and heavy. My dad lived in Ecuador for a little while when he was younger, um, and so you know Ecuador's got kind of a special place in our hearts. Um, but yeah, I mean it's hard hearing other people suffer, and I think that that's something that, quite frankly, is underplayed here in the States. Welcome, Ricardo. Sorry, you jump in, and I'm here talking about how hard it is everywhere with the pandemic. But I try not to be that heavy in this stream, but it's something that I have felt very impacted by emotionally. So I mean, it's hard. It's hard. You know what? I'm gonna hold off on trying to. Maybe I won't hold off on making that hair. I need to make that hair. Let me see. I want to make these little curly cues, but the way that I want to go about doing this, um, I love seeing all that support there in the chat. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, it means a lot to me to see you guys reaching out to others and um supporting other people in their hard times. It's a very big thing. It's a good thing. I got unlucky. We've been heavily quarantined since the beginning of the pandemic. Not really going out ever to stay safe, but I had to go to the hospital for surgery and ended up getting it. Oh, that's hard. That's super hard. Yeah, it's one of the things. My wife has had to go to the hospital and to the dentist and things like that for different emergency procedures. I mean, it's something that she needed, and thankfully, thankfully she hasn't caught it. I mean, and she's almost fully vaccinated. She'll be fully vaccinated next week. Um, Thank you very much. I don't know what your name is. And actually I don't know if you're if you speak I can't recognize if that's Japanese or not, but if it is Japanese, domo. I like knowing a couple words in a lot of different languages. Like domo in Japanese for thank you, and oh, you know what? I'm going to take this. We're just going to kind of control click and drag to pull it off over here to the side. Actually, let's do this, because I just want this little end piece here. So we'll just take this, control all. There we go. Now we can invert it. Now we have just those pieces that we want. Modify topology, delete hidden. Booyah! All right, let's go ahead and bring that back up. Yeah, so thankfully, thankfully we haven't had any of I mean, I had a couple of weeks where I was out because of cat allergies, but that's nothing compared to to what any of you guys have been through that have had to deal with the who have had to deal with the virus firsthand. And we've got a guy at church who's a doctor, young guy with a family and everything, and he's been extremely fortunate to have not gotten the virus, and nobody at church wants to kind of um, he wants to affiliate with them because I mean, he's a doctor and he's constantly working with people who have had the virus and things like that. And fortunately now, he's kind of in much more of a safe zone than he had been at the beginning. But yeah, poor guy. It's such a heavy, hard thing. So, if any of you know anyone who's been directly fighting the virus and anything like that, tell them thank you. Because that's been a big thing. It's starting to come along. It's starting to come along. You bought ZBrush a week ago. How you liking it? It's a really awesome tool. Super awesome tool. Let me see. Oh, that's a relief. Yeah, I was going to go get the vaccine soon. Surgery was nothing I could put off either, sadly, because I cut the tendon in my left hand. Oh, no. A piece of broken glass doing the dishes. Oh, that's so hard. That's like first big injury I've had. So lucky it wasn't anything bigger. Yeah, absolutely. Watching these streams after having post nut clarity and such a vibe. Keep up with the good work. Thank you very much. Can't read your QR code. Where can I find more info about your course? Oh, yeah, sure. I'll let me post this up. So right now I've got a really cool sale going on. I think the QR code. In fact, if I were to I need to make my. I need to possibly go ahead and make my my screen a little bit darker, and that'll probably fix some of this. Might be able to read it a little bit better then. But if you wanted to be able to get to it, there's a really good sale going on flip normals right now. This is one that I started. I was invited to participate on the Flip Normals marketplace, which is a huge honor to me. Yeah, for anybody who is interested in checking that out, I have a sale going on this month for Mermay. And then, yeah, so 31% off because of her 31 days in May. It's just kind of funny. Yeah, $276. It's typically $400. But it's a great course. It's full length. It's the same thing that I offer through Gnomon, that I teach professionally at Gnomon. And yeah, so I mean, instead of being $1,300, it's a third of that price. It's a really good deal there. But it goes through the whole process of going through and creating the sculpt. You create the topology, the UVs. I talk about creating hair. So there's like an example of what the head topology looks like, the hair, and how I go ahead and create the hair. I think I've also included my hairbrush along with that, along with my IMM's primitive brush, which has been super helpful. I use that to replace the generic one from ZBrush. I talk about engineering things for 3D print. Super good. In fact, let me see. I gotta remember which drawer it's in, just to show you, so that I'm not just words. I've got her printed out right here, and I've got other pieces too, but she's obviously all in pieces. So super cool. Yeah, I mean, it's a really helpful course. It's the kind of course that I wish that I had when I was first learning, but whatever. And I even go through and I even show a few techniques to be able to make clothing, because really with a mermaid, there aren't a whole lot of opportunities for clothing. So I was like, you know what, I gotta show some clothes just to be able to get it in there, and be able to show that and how to use that. So yeah, feel free to go ahead and check that out. It's really, really great. I focus primarily on ZBrush and Maya, but this is my full professional workflow. This is what I use. It's very simple. You don't have to be an advanced professional to be able to do this. I use this technique professionally, but this is something there's nothing complicated about it. It's very simple. So it's something that's good for anybody. It's a really good insight to a very professional workflow. Something that I've used at all the big studios. I've used it at DreamWorks. I've used it at Disney. I've used it at Warner Brothers Games. I use it now at Netflix Animation, and countless other games and jobs and things that I've worked on. So yeah, it's there. It's super helpful. If you wanted to also check it out on ArtStation, that's also a different option. And I have a bunch of different things on there as well if you wanted to check that out. But yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's where we're at with that. If I also know about Cinema 4D, no, I don't know about Cinema 4D. I know that I've got friends that have used it. Like for instance, in school, um, I had a buddy who did a lot of like commercials work for like on campus videos and things like that. Um, let's go ahead and kind of play with this shape a little bit better. I like that. I like that. That's working. Um, I personally have never used it. One, because it's expensive, and two, just because I never had it available to me or had a job where it was required. And so it's never really been at the forefront of my need to learn need to learn things. So yeah. Got a quick question. One thing about retopology that really confuses me is what do I do with the retopo once I've completed it in TopoGun or 3D Coat? So one of the things that you could do, if you do create your topology elsewhere, what I like to do, like for instance, if I do my topology inside of Maya, I like to bring it back over into ZBrush. Like for instance, with this character, once I'd finished her model, I mean, I had started it here inside of ZBrush. You can tell I still need to do the eyelids. Um, but yeah, I started it here inside of ZBrush, and then took it over into Maya to be able to do things with the antlers. Super super helpful. And then once I did that, I just went ahead and re-imported it into ZBrush as an OBJ, and used that to replace my old file. And then now I can go ahead and I can take this, I can add subdivision levels, and I can sculpt on it, and all sorts of things. So really cool. It's really simple. In fact, once I finish this model at some point in the future, I'll probably make her available as like a something on my ArtStation store, or something like that. So basically, always make a lightened version of the model in Maya first. Not necessarily. So like for instance, this model started off as just a sculpt, kind of like what we're doing right now. Let me see if I've got, yeah, there we go. That's not the exact model, but let's see. So you can see, like, here's what she started off as. I mean, she's obviously, the ears are very different, but I can't remember exactly what had happened. But I needed to be able to get the antlers back in there. I needed to be able to get rid of the head. That's what it was. That's what it was. It was that I had to get the head shape that I had made from a mermaid that I was making, and so that's where the ears came from. But yeah, it's kind of silly, but whatever. Um, you see. Thanks for answering. I'm Brazilian. Fell here by parachute looking for hair tips in Cinema 4D. Thank you very much. Hair in Cinema 4D, I wouldn't know how to. Um, Maybe afterward. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, for hair, I mean, I typically do my hair using hair brushes, like my own hairbrush that I've gone through and created. It's a super super useful little brush, and I have this available um, on my on my ArtStation store or on Gumroad. Yeah, super super helpful. I'm gonna go through and let's go through and kind of grab this. I'm gonna make this a sharp point right here, and I'm just gonna grab this and make a smooth point. I'm trying to think about kind of like the thickness here. So it starts off nice and thin, and then it gets really kind of thick here, but it has like this sharp peak. So I'm going to kind of experiment with it and see kind of how this works. That didn't work as I was hoping, but let's go ahead and change the profile to the shape. Okay, let's try it. And you know, if it doesn't work right away, that's totally fine. We can just go ahead and get started with it anyway. Kind of pull this away from the head some. Let's make sure this is against the head. Pull it off. Okay, let's see. Let's maybe make the brush a little bit smaller. I want to commit it. It's actually committed back when it was a little bit smoother of a shape. Let's commit it like that. That'll work. And then what we'll do is we'll just come in over here and we will start to kind of play with these shapes just a little bit. I need to kind of make this peak a little bit more. Let's turn on AccuCurve. And I'm just going to make this peak just a little bit like that. We'll play with some more of the thickness here in just a minute, but let's go ahead and we'll start getting this to tweak down a little bit. And pull this out just some like that. Oops. Oops, 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 oops. Okay, let's go ahead, let's grab this, and we will say give this a little bit more of a bend. And then we'll give this a little bit of the let's pull on the sum, because this is, let's turn off AccuCurve. What AccuCurve does is it gives you kind of like this sharp point with the brush, and so that'll change the effect of how it affects your mesh. So I totally recommend going through and playing with it and seeing the different effects. I like to use it a lot for the move brush because it helps me to create a much sharper corners and things like that. Really, really helpful. Let's go ahead and I'm just kind of using my rotate tools and things like that to be able to pull this into its position. Lots of playing, lots of experimenting. I'm definitely not afraid of experimenting with these things. I want to make sure that I'm kind of thinking about a few things. I mean, right now the shape is super off, by the way. It's really kind of bothering me, but it'll work itself out. One of the things that I want to figure out is that, like, not just how it works in the 2D space, getting that curl in there, but also like how it works in the 3D space and getting sort of like this curl that kind of comes off and makes a cool shape from different angles. So like you see, it's not just like a planar shape. It's got some depth to it. Really, really helpful when going through and kind of considering design. Let's come over here. I'm just going to play with this. Let's go through and kind of smooth this out if it'll let me. It's not letting me. Oh, that's why it has the it's set to RGB, not to color, or not to Z add. I was like, why won't it let me do the thing? Move infinite depth. Let's go ahead and take this. And then let's kind of fix this flow right here. Like I messed that up a little bit by playing with it. I'm going to take that edge loop, kind of like what we did earlier, right? Let's actually take this and kind of push it this way. What I like to do is I like to get a little bit of an offset in pieces like this. So where it's like the this hair, I want this crease right here to help create a little bit of like different thicknesses. So you see like maybe down here in this part it's like a little bit thinner here, a little bit thicker here, but up here it's like thick here, thin here, thin here. You know, try to vary that up, and that helps to create some appeal. It helps to create some interest. So I'm just kind of going through and playing with that some. We gotta go through and play with overall width in some of these little twirly bits here. In fact, let's use the cloth pole. Cloth pole. This is one of the things that I will use the cloth brushes for. I don't use them a ton, admittedly, but they are extremely helpful when I'm doing things like this, and I want to try to keep the volume as much as possible, and I want to try to like yank the mesh around a little bit. It just becomes really, really helpful in being able to control exactly what's happening. And you get a little bit of like organic sort of shapes with it for free, so it's kind of nice. It's kind of nice. Yeah, so when you bring that Retopologize model back, yeah, you can absolutely go through and add more detail and play with those shapes more. It's amazing. It's such a great. Yeah, I love ZBrush. It's one of the things that's been absolutely tremendous for me as an artist, because I can go through, do all the refinement I want to do, and then take it to as much of a detailed pass as I want to take it. Like Chris Costa is a good example of somebody who goes through and has like I think he works off of a base mesh sometimes, but one of the things that he'll do is he'll come in and he'll take the whatever model it is that he's working on, and he'll use like super high res sculpting power of ZBrush, and then create like all the really high resolution detailed textures on his good grief. I really hate the neighbor's dog. It's so noisy. Oh well, it's just a dog. Yeah, and then he'll go ahead and he'll use that to get all the detailed power of the sculpting inside of ZBrush, and then take it back into whatever rendering program he wants to use. and it's super super cool. I was absolutely dumbstruck watching his ZBrush presentation. Super super neat. I loved it. It's probably one of my most watched videos on YouTube. You know what? Let's do, instead of doing that one, let's do this one. It's like I'm trying to move my shapes around and trying to figure out which of these would work best. And so far, I think it's going to be this one probably. I'm trying to. One of the things I'm noticing is that there's the peak on top, but it's more of a gentle swoop on the bottom. So I'm just trying to kind of be aware of that. Oh wow, it's already 10 o'clock. Man, I gotta go. I gotta get started on work. Well, started back on work. I actually do work before I stream, so that way I can you know, have had a couple of hours of work already, and then I can just take a couple hours of my own time and have some fun or whatever. It's just a little bit easier to work in the early mornings sometimes. You know, it's nice and quiet. The car wash behind my house isn't running. All sorts of little things that I get to kind of benefit from. My daughter's really big about waking up early too, and so she'll come up and she'll sit next to me and she'll tell me stories and talk about her favorite things and tell me what she wants for her birthday and all that stuff. You know, it's just kind of funny. Let me see. I'm glad I caught this stream because I modeled along the draw challenge video you posted. Super good work putting up your amazing. Thank you so much. Let me see. Thanks again for basically teaching me how to block out properly too. Yeah, you're welcome. My ZBrush techniques are so bad, but your works are very good. I will follow you and see if I can learn more. Thank you. Yeah, I have a ton of fun with it. I'm always going through and kind of pushing what it is that I do. At some point soon, oh, these ears look terrible, if you don't mind me saying. At some point soon, I will probably start going in and, you know, let's take this and kind of make it something like that. Get our clip curve. Oops, other way. Something like that. Kind of smooth that out a little bit because that's kind of a pain. All right, man, she's starting to come along. I feel like next week I should be able to you know, say, look at that, look at what we made. Maybe, I mean, hopefully, right? Yeah, it's funny. It's funny. Oh, thanks for coming, Alcadeus. I'm glad I joined the stream. Stay safe and have a great day. You too. Used to have a neighbor with a really noisy dog that would start barking at 5 a.m. and wake me up that early, even on the weekends, so I ended up moving. Moving for a dog. Oh, it's so sad. All right, well, thank you for the help. The answers are super helpful and helped clear up most of my confusion. Really appreciate it. I'm glad I could do that for you. New to ZBrush, I added some new brushes, but it doesn't work well. I just downloaded brushes and copied to the ZBrush folder. Should I do something else? So to be able to put brushes into the right folder, let me show you. Okay, so I have, for instance, you got to go to the Pixologic folder. Okay, and this is the directory that you would want to go to find this. In fact, let me click into more folders here. Z data, brush presets. This is the folder that you want to put things in. If you want to be able to find like the brushes and you want to have them load every time that you open ZBrush. Now, if you for instance, if you have like a new brush that you loaded in and it's just not showing up and it's getting kind of frustrating, the thing that you can do is you can come down here to this button that says reset all brushes, and that will reset, it'll reset everything. So it'll essentially take all your brushes back to their standard settings, and it'll go back to that brush folder and look and say, oh, okay, I see what you're doing. This is what we need to have. So we have this brush that's new. We have this brush that's new. We have this brush that we got rid of, and those sorts of things. So yeah, it'll go through and it'll kind of like look at your brush folder again, look at those standard settings, and then it'll call it good. For this model, no, I won't be doing retopology. I don't think, anyway. Mostly because of time. Specifically today, I don't have time. But just generally speaking, I don't know that I feel like I really have the time to invest in character topology for this gal. Yeah, the idea with her is just to walk away with a with a nice stylized sculpt. Let's go through and kind of do something like this. Trying to find some of those main forms. So what I'm seeing, and granted, this is Mikkel going through and kind of getting like the hair sheen kind of drawn into his picture, but I really like how that sheen makes me feel like there is kind of a shape, kind of a plane change going through there, and so instead of just leaving it as sheen, I want to use that to create kind of like a plane, and it's a really fun. Oh, I accidentally turned on my dynamic smooth, and I don't want that on. Yeah, it's a really fun thing to play around with. Go ahead and I like to use a bunch of different brushes in very kind of unorthodox ways, but I always use like the regular function, then I use the alternative function to kind of complement it, and it's super helpful. So essentially what that means is like I'm using the here, let's kind of isolate that. Every brush has an alternate function, and that's you just hold Alt to be able to use that. So what I do a lot is I'll go through and I'll use, like, for instance, if I'm using a Damien standard, I can go and I can punch in the detail, but if I hold Alt, it kind of creates a ridge. Now I don't want to use that ridge really right there right now, but you can use that to kind of punch that side a little bit. Move topological, kind of pull that into position. Pull that up some. Oh, come here, you. That up some. Okay, she's starting to look good. She's starting to look like something that I can be happy with. Okay, so the curl is coming off more to the side than I think. Well, certainly more than the concept. Yeah, let's try it. Let's play with this and see what we like. I'm just gonna use that. Use the transpose line. I'm just gonna hold Alt and kind of pull on that corner. If we hold Alt and use like any of these corners or any of these pieces, like I said, alternate functionality. So it's really getting you like a ton of flexibility. Yeah, something like that's working. I'll keep that. I like it. I like it. That works. I mean, it's not exactly like we have in the concept, like I've been saying, but let's we can kind of fix that a little bit too. Give it a little bit more of what we're seeing in the concept. Make this shape kind of come over a little bit. Get this shape to feel a little bit more of a swoosh down. See, trying to check this from different angles just to make sure that the forms are appealing in the way that they flow. And that's really important. I always check from different angles just to make sure that everything is working in a way that feels good. Because if it doesn't feel good from every angle, it's going to look weird whenever you turn to look at it differently. So it's important to check it from different sides. Let me see. I'm trying to think. What's a good question? Oh boy. It's starting to get windy here. The circular menu we're talking about, this one right here. This circular menu is for Spotlight, so it's only going to work if you have Spotlight turned on. Oh, Alex is leaving. Okay, thanks, Alex. I didn't see that. Oh, and Donuts is left too. Oh man, I missed everybody when they left. Oh well. Yeah, so this is for Spotlight. So in order to have a Spotlight image up, you need to just, have an image in here that you turn on, and you can turn it on and off through here. But so whatever picture you want to have as Spotlight. In fact, let me go ahead and let's save Spotlight, because I like this. Particular view. It's been working for me well. So I'm going to say, let's turn that off. I'm going to grab an image. Maybe let's grab this one just because that's kind of cool. And then I'm going to hit Add to Spotlight. So you see now we've got this. Let's go ahead and get rid of this because we don't need it right now. So we can go ahead and we can shrink it. So you got like the scale right here. You have rotate, and it's going to rotate from wherever your tool is. So if you place the tool over here, it's going to rotate from there. It's going to scale from there. So that's really, really good to know. You can also undo. So like for instance, I can undo all my little rotations. You can snap to different parts of your image, snap to different corners, different points over here, different things like that. So you can scale from different areas. You can tile it, which can be really kind of cool. Okay. Bring it back down. You can extend it. Wow, that's kind of cool. That's really kind of cool. Let's go ahead and undo that. Let me see. You can also say Union, which is going to, or Snapshot 3D, which is going to go through, and it's actually going to take this image, and it's going to create a mesh that's the same thickness of whatever subtool you have selected. And it looks like it even went ahead and it turned different polygroups based on what it is that we had selected. So lots of really cool things happening. Let's make sure that's all that's there, and we can just hit delete. But yeah, Spotlight's got a lot of cool tools to it. Typically with Spotlight, if I'm using it to be able to make shapes, I'll use it to make just like using black and white images and just make simple shapes. And they have a whole bunch of Spotlight alphas in here that you can play with that are really fun. Some that are even used for being able to make clothing. I'm not going to worry about that right now, though. But yeah, just so that you know that's something that you can go through and play with too. Texture, and then you can go through and save a Spotlight just like what I did, and then you can load it back in. The important thing is that once you turn on a Spotlight, you've got to come up here to Brush, down to Samples, and you got to make sure its Spotlight projection is off like this. If it's on, then it's going to affect how your brushes work with the mesh. Certain brushes, if this is on, will only affect the mesh as long as it's behind the Spotlight, and then it'll use the Spotlight image as like a way to project detail onto the mesh. So it's really kind of a tricky thing to play with, but it's super cool. See, I'm gonna let's grab the standard brush. I'm gonna grab the let's turn on stroke, not curve, lazy mouse. Let's turn up that radius to something outrageous. I'm gonna give this a subdivision level. Let's check and make sure that okay, Dynamesh is turned off. Perfect. And I'm just going through and trying to add in a little bit of that outline that I'm seeing with the makeup. Which I feel is awesome, and it helps to add like some really cool just some power, I guess. Power and clarity. Something like that works. Okay. Now there are a lot of other things that are kind of happening with this. I'm thinking that she's got like a... this isn't quite right. Let me see. And I gotta try to let it go like nice and thin. Something like that. That feels cool. That feels cool. I'll take that. Okay, let me see. I kind of want to... No, I don't want to do that. Let's go in, let's draw this heart on there. I don't like that. It's got to be smaller. Now, one other thing that we could do, and this could be really helpful. Let's smooth it out one more time. Remember how I talked about having using Spotlight to be able to texture things. So let's go ahead and talk about actually using this right now. I'm going to say let's turn the opacity down. Okay, and this is going to get us like our rough texture. This isn't going to get us something that's absolutely final, but it's just going to be something that can help us to get something that's, you know, something that's kind of close to what we want. You can see just how far off it is. The face is a little bit longer than it ought to be. Let's go ahead and just take this and just kind of pull this up a little bit and pull this in a little bit. And the ears are too big. Yeah, something like that, maybe. Okay, so we're just going to place it roughly where it's supposed to be. And the area that I'm most concerned about is the space between the eyebrows. I want to make sure that that heart is kind of lined up with the geometry the way that I want it. So I'm going to say standard brush, come up to brush, turn on spotlight projection, and then I'm going to turn my opacity all the way up, and I only want to brush right here in this little area, okay? Because this little area is where I'm going to get, so you can see turn that off, and you see now I've got that heart right there, okay? So really, really simple, really, really powerful. And I'm trying to decide if I like the geometry changes that we made once we lined her up. I think what I'm going to do, let's take these and take these lips, kind of move them back into the face just a little bit. Go ahead and take these eyeballs. Okay, we got that symmetry on. Why is it I'm going to turn off symmetry. I don't need symmetry right now anyway for this. I'm just going to kind of adjust the eyeballs individually to fill in those gaps. It's okay that they're not perfect spheres anymore anyway. Okay. Just kind of take this and kind of rotate it just a little bit so that it feels like it's looking in the same direction as the other eye. Let's maybe take it over just a little bit further. Control Shift A, Control W. And let's go ahead and grab this. We'll just kind of move that over so that it's better matching with the shape of that eye. Pull it up some. There we go. See, she's starting to come along. It's all about like going through and kind of just doing, just experimenting and playing with it and things like that. Now this shape for the heart, it's not really quite what I want. Let's go back to brush, turn off spotlight projection. There are like it's pretty good, but I think that I want it to come out a little bit more. Okay, we can come back over here too and turn lazy mouse back on. Okay, let's go ahead. Let's turn it off now. It might just be too strong, but we'll yeah, let's try it out without. Go ahead and fill that in a little bit more. We'll fill in some of these little dots. And then this top thing here, this top thing is something that was very asymmetrical in the design. So that's something that I would rather take the time to do manually, just turn off symmetry and handle it myself. In fact, let's do that. We'll add a little bit of asymmetry to this to this heart, just kind of draw these bottom parts in manually. Something like that. And then let's go ahead and turn symmetry back on. Kind of paint that in a little bit. Get a little bit of that going on there. Let's turn off lazy mouse. This is kind of creating some interesting challenges and trying to get the shapes to be clean. Let's take focal shift a little bit more toward the negative side, just to be able to get some sharper, cleaner shapes here too. Okay, so right here, one of the things we're going to want to do is make sure that we've got like a trail kind of coming down. And let's do this. I'm going to say, no, that's too much. Must be the opposite direction. Nope. I thought for sure. Yeah, well, it doesn't matter. Let's just go down. We'll say, give it like a trail of dots kind of coming down here. Every so often. And we'll just go ahead and we'll just kind of soften our focal shift. So we'll just brush that on so that it has a little bit of a fade from the nose to the top there. Then we'll come back in with that skin tone and just kind of fight it back a little bit, control it some. Okay. I'm going to take this nose and let's just kind of play with that shape a little bit. Hopefully everything's making sense. And this is, like I said, I mean, I have a very simple workflow. Nothing too complicated. So yeah, just having fun with it. Oops. Oops. Whatever. All right. Yeah, I'm getting quiet. I'm getting kind of focused. It's kind of fun. And then let's go ahead. I'm going to smooth out the color from the nose just a little bit. So yeah, there are a lot of things still needing to go into her design, but I mean she's coming along super well. This is this is exciting. It's always exciting to get to a point where it's like you feel like you can see the character coming to life, and so that's a huge thing. This is why I love doing this. Being able to see these characters and these things kind of come to life for me. I'm going to try to get a little bit more of this. Let me see, do I have spotlight on? I don't have spotlight on. to get it a lot more saturated and a lot darker. Sometimes going through and just kind of emphasizing the darkness of the upper lip helps to give it a little bit more depth, and it helps it to helps the two to kind of stand apart a little bit more. Oh, I guess the ears are masked. That's kind of funny. I don't know why it keeps doing this. I think it's I think that some of these points are actually kind of welded together, which is a pain, but whatever, it happens. All right. So far, so good. I think I'm going to call that good for now. And then next week we'll go ahead and we'll work on it some more. So yeah, we'll go ahead and we'll check that out. And I'm having a blast so far. So let's go ahead and we'll say split hidden, and we'll call this hair flyaways. That way we can have that turned on to smooth, and we don't have to worry about bugging the whole of the hair with it. So go ahead, we'll turn that on. We'll say there, and then there, and there we go. We got a little bit of a our character done today. Next week we're going to want to try to go through and get as far on this as possible. There will be other things. We'll probably do some really quick, speedy flowers, because this gal has some awesome roses all over her. She's got different types of flowers too, so we'll have to see kind of what it is we can do. I don't know, maybe if I get time, maybe I'll go ahead and I'll do the flowers. Like, I'll make the flowers separately and just make an IMM brush. I'll make that available on my Patreon. But yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to play with it some. But yeah, so far so good. I mean, she's definitely coming along, and that's that's all we can hope for, right? So yeah. That's where we're at for right now. So much. I have such a hard time like walking away from a stream. Let's go ahead and save it just to make sure that it's saved all the way before I get off. But yeah, let's see. Hey, thanks, bud. Ashley, you tune in just at the end of your of my stream. Thanks a lot. Can't remember what it was I was gonna. Oh yeah, changing the stream title or anything. I figured you probably know like a cool command to do that. I was gonna ask you to teach me that earlier, but I'll figure it out later. Or Kyle will take care of it. He does good with that. But yeah. Anyway, good to see you. I want to see how you did those gradients. Too bad I missed the stream. It's okay. So the nice thing about the stream is that it's all recorded, and you can go back and kind of watch things over again. Some of those I need to fix this now. This is kind of bothering me, and this is something that's going to bother me if I don't because I won't catch it next time. You know what? I'm going to use my transpose line, and I am going to say, let's bend it up like Beckham. Okay, I think something. It's getting a little bit messy in there, so I got to be careful with it. Something a little bit more like that, I think, is a little bit better. So let's go ahead and let's just adjust the skin around it. That's a little bit better. Not a ton, but a little bit. It's a start. It's always kind of a challenge. Like I was saying, I mean, it's like you get to a point where it's like you start to see the things that you missed earlier, and then it's like, "Ah, I can't just leave it alone. I've got to do something about it, you know?" Ah, I'm so terrible. I'm so terrible. Let's see. Let's take this and kind of pull this in a little bit. It's all a refinement process. So I mean, it's if it doesn't get refined now, it'll get refined later. And if it doesn't get refined later, then oh dang, you know. Let's go ahead and mask that out, and then we'll take this. We'll just kind of bend it up a little bit, just so that we get a little bit more of a variation in which direction these points are going. Ah, so terrible. That's quite a bit better. That's quite a bit better. Well, I'm going to leave it at that for right now. So yeah, we'll leave it at that now. I promise this is the last time I am going to hit save, and then we'll call it good for today. Thank you so much for coming and chilling in the stream. Let's go ahead. Let's load this other spotlight just so we can have kind of the fun comparison, just to see the beginning and the end. Okay, and then next week we'll continue the process. Like I said, I mean, this will have a little bit of my own flair to it, a little bit of my own sensibilities, but yeah, we'll work it out. Some of the things like the colors, the eyes, that'll change as we move along. But yeah, I'm gonna call it good for right now. Thanks for coming and hanging out. Um, when I grow up, I want to be like you. Aw, thank you. Um, yeah. Thanks for coming and having fun at the stream. I super enjoy doing this, so I hope you guys had fun, and hope you guys were able to learn something. And yeah, if you're interested in finding me anywhere on the social medias, you can find me at places like, well, you can find me on ZBrush Live. You can find my website, my Instagram, all sorts of other links in the QR codes that'll follow here for the next few minutes. So feel free to scan and check it out, and I will see you guys around. This has been Steven Anderson, and I am thankful for having had you guys here with me today. So have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.